What's up guys, I'm Justin Ball and welcome back to the Recording Percussionist, where I show you everything you need to know to get from that beginning stage of looking at a microphone or camera for the very first time to that intermediate stage where you feel confident in your ability to set up, record, and edit an entire recording session all on your own. You don't need to be an expert to start getting great recordings, and if you hear me say anything, hear this. It's more important to know how to use the gear than the quality of the gear itself. To quote Gregory Scott, there's no such thing as a good microphone or a bad microphone. There is only a microphone that sounds good for what you're recording, and a microphone that doesn't sound so good for what you're recording. Now, in the last video, we discussed the process of capturing sound, how it gets from the microphone to the speakers, and the noise that it experiences along the way. Today, we'll be exploring the most common types of microphone used in percussion recordings, as well as the various polar patterns they're capable of. We've all seen microphones, but what are they? Well, a microphone is a transducer, meaning it converts energy from one form to another. In this case, acoustic energy, or sound, is captured and converted to a weak electrical signal. Once sound is converted into an electrical signal, it can now be focused as an electrical current sent through a cable, similar to other forms of electricity. With microphones, this is done using what are known as XLR cables. These cables have both male and female ends and work exactly how you'd think they would. Now, we'll talk more about these later, but for now, there are two basic types of microphones that you need to concern yourself with: dynamic microphones and condenser microphones. Dynamic microphones are great all-around microphones for louder instruments, such as drums, guitars, and amplifiers during live sound events. They're inexpensive, don't need a power supply, super durable, and handle heat and humidity well, making them great for outdoor functions. The most common dynamic microphones are the Shure SM57, the most popular microphone for the snare drum in a drum set, and the Shure SM58, the most popular vocal microphone. The downside to dynamic microphones is that they aren't very sensitive to quieter sounds, or those of extremely high frequencies. Condenser microphones are better suited for quieter sounds. They can handle loud sounds, but not as well as dynamic microphones, and you wouldn't see a condenser mic pointed at an amplifier at a concert. Condenser mics are more sensitive, accommodate a wider range of frequencies, and gather more sound information than dynamic microphones. You'll almost always find condenser mics above a drum kit, as they're much better at bringing out the higher frequencies than dynamic microphones. They're also much more efficient in capturing room noise, or the natural reverberations of sound throughout the recording space. Condenser mics are also quite a bit more expensive and much more fragile than dynamic mics. Lastly, unlike dynamic mics, condenser mics need power in the form of 48-volt phantom power to function, which usually comes from the audio interface. There are actually two types of condenser microphones. Large diaphragm microphones are better for lower frequencies. They add warmth to the sound and are regularly used for vocals, brass, cymbals, and anything else with higher articulate frequencies. Small diaphragm microphones are better for high frequencies. The smaller the diaphragm, the more accurate the information the microphone is capturing. If you ever get confused about which one's which, think of a marimba bar. Large diaphragm, large bar, low frequency. Small diaphragm, small bar, high frequency. I found a really helpful chart that lists the various differences between large and small diaphragm microphones, which I'll link to in the description. Modern microphones are designed to selectively capture sound based on directionality, meaning that they have the ability to accept sounds from one direction and reject them from another. We won't get into how this is done, but in a nutshell, microphones are designed to record using what are called polar patterns. Let's take a look at the various types and how they affect recordings. Omnidirectional microphones capture sounds equally from all sides, which makes them great for capturing a single instrument, group of instruments, as well as the natural attack and decay of the reverberations happening around the room. With Omnis, you do risk the possibility of picking up unwanted sounds, so if you want the sound capture to be more focused, you can try using a cardioid pattern microphone. Cardioid pattern, also known as unidirectional, is more focused, capturing sound from the front and rejecting sounds from behind. These are great for snare drums due to their close proximity to the hi-hat and other drums around the kit. The SM57, which I mentioned earlier, is a cardioid dynamic microphone. They're also incredible for podcasting or even making videos like this one, because it captures the sound of my voice and not much of anything else around the room. Bidirectional microphones, also known as figure 8, are slightly less common, but they have the ability to capture sound equally from the front and back, while rejecting sounds from the sides. Although it sounds like it may be useful, you don't see these used a lot in percussion recordings, especially in live situations, because then you would just be picking up the various sounds that the audience makes. You get it. Now, I know what you're thinking, and no, unless it's a stereo microphone, meaning that the microphone can record to 2 separate audio channels, this would not be a good choice for a marimba duet, and you'll find out why when we talk more about stereo miking techniques. So I talked about the types of microphones that we use to record percussion instruments, as well as the various polar patterns they're capable of. In efforts to keep this series moving forward, I'll leave you with 2 options. You can either move on to the microphone selection video, or if you'd like to learn more about the various microphone specs, I've included an additional video where I'll walk you through frequency response, sensitivity, max SPL, and impedance. Either way, I'll see you there, and until then, happy recording.